Tonight, Saskatchewan farmers remain cautiously optimistic as China lowers its canola tariffs. We find out if Canada could fill global oil demand as the Middle East conflict expands. And we meet a 91-year-old who's becoming PEI's crokinole wizard.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, March 5th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. China's tariffs on Canadian canola have officially been lowered, and some in the province are pleased, especially as the growing season is upcoming. But some Saskatchewan farmers and experts say there is still concern ahead. Alex Kozrowski has our top story.
The anti-dumping and anti-discrimination tariffs China had on Canadian canola have officially been dropped to 15%. And it's good news for Saskatchewan farmers, who have been hit hard by recent international disputes. Saskatchewan's trade minister is among those expressing relief.
We feel very, very pleased that China certainly lived up to what they said they were going to do, and that's reduce canola tariffs to a very reasonable amount. I think what we've seen in the past, and from what we understand now, it didn't take long for industry to respond. Prices are up, and what we understand is that shipments are on their way.
One producer says the tariffs being reduced won't calm his nerves just yet.
The kind of more long-term concern is what's next. Tariffs come on. Sometimes we're not expecting it, and now they've gone off, but it doesn't mean there won't be another thing looming on the horizon, and that has certainly got us concerned.
And Moats has reason for being cautiously optimistic. The tariff reduction comes just as further international issues erupt. The latest conflict in the Middle East is cutting off the flow of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, a key trade route for fertilizer. One policy expert says despite the good news on the tariffs, Saskatchewan farmers could see a big rise in input costs.
With what's happening currently with the Iran dispute and the Strait of Hormuz, the fertilizer prices are going through the roof. So farmers who were waiting to determine what they were going to see depending on these Chinese tariffs are now caught in a significant bind if they didn't buy fertilizer.
And as input costs rise fast due to global events, some are concerned the market won't reach stability for years to come. Alex Kozrowski, CBC News, Regina.
And the conflict overseas and the impact on the Strait of Hormuz is also having an effect on gas prices here at home. Many gas stations before the conflict were reporting prices per litre in the $1.20 to $1.30 range. But a few gas stations in Saskatoon on Thursday were already showing prices over $1.40 a litre. And some analysts say it could go higher as the crisis continues. So all of this is opening the conversation around who can fill the need for oil worldwide. There's talk about other countries ramping up oil and gas production, and it's something Canada could be a big part of if we have enough to get the job done. Anis Haydari has that story.
As conflict blocks Middle Eastern trade routes, Canadian energy could see increased demand.
We are even more important today than we were before the weekend.
But can Canada replace oil and gas from the Gulf states?
And the answer is yes, it can provide a small degree. It's the amount. Can it in any way contribute in a large or significantly meaningful way to what is being lost? The answer is no, it can't today.
There are possibilities over a far longer period of time if there's additional pipeline capacity to Tidewater. Expensive railways can also make a big difference, but to justify that, oil needs an even higher price.
I do feel as though there will be an effort to make sure that the oil and the LNG can start to flow because no one wants to see a $90 or $100 barrel. That would create a shock. That would be very bad for everybody.
Canada wasn't able to substantially replace lost energy exports after Russia invaded Ukraine, a region that could be a factor this time.
So it's a luxury to have had Russia out of the mix. When push comes to shove, you will start to see countries, turning up their nose, but importing some Russian supply.
About 20% of the world's oil moves through the Strait of Hormuz. If that stays blocked, Opening up existing pipelines and trains in North America won't cut it.
There are some minor things that could certainly be considered by individual companies and governments that can support a bit of increased production to fill that void. But over the long term, you need to build fairly major pieces of infrastructure.
Without new infrastructure, Canada could export about 250,000 more oil barrels a day, but that would take a few months, and it's far less than even 1% of total global production. Anis Haydari, CBC News, Calgary.
And Prime Minister Mark Carney is not ruling out Canada's involvement in the Middle East conflict should it broaden. He made the remarks during his trade mission in Australia.
You've asked a fundamental hypothetical in a conflict that can spread very broadly. Today's events, recent events, point to that. So one can never categorically rule out participation. We will stand by our allies when it makes sense. There's a distinction between the offensive actions that were taken and are being taken by the United States and Israel, that were taken by them without consultation with Canada, with other allies, and we're not party to those actions.
The Prime Minister says Canadian forces would always defend Canadians and allies under threat. He is also repeating his call for de-escalation in the conflict, saying all sides should stop attacks that target civilians and civilian infrastructure. But Carney also says a ceasefire can't happen until Iran's ability to export terrorism and acquire nuclear weapons is eliminated. Back in this province, the government is pitching in millions of dollars to fix up rural roads across Saskatchewan. The money from the Rural Integrated Roads for Growth program is expected to go toward over 40 projects. Those projects include new roads, bridges, and culverts, as well as upgrades to existing ones. It's in partnership with the Saskatchewan Association of Rural Municipalities and is expected to have a big impact for people who live and travel through rural areas.
This funding helps rural municipalities develop roads that are connecting economies to the provincial grid, right? So they're an economic development tool that we're using to help promote economic growth in the province, along with SARM.
The province will pitch in nearly $17 million for the project, while rural municipalities across Saskatchewan will contribute nearly $30 million. Meanwhile, SARM is also pushing back on a proposal from SaskPower to boost power rates. SARM provided a submission to the province's rate review panel, which is currently reviewing the Crown Corporation's rate increase. In its submission, SARM highlights how the proposed 3.9% rate increase in both 2026 and 2027 will disproportionately hurt farmers.
It's an increase that we're not really looking forward to accepting, but we have no choice. We need power, and we appreciate the work that SaskPower does for the upgrades that are long overdue, you know. But we're hoping that they can keep it at a minimum.
Under the proposed rate application, the average farm customer will see an increase of $11 a month in 2026 and 2027, while the average urban customer will only see an increase of $5 a month. The official opposition has introduced a bill that would halt the proposed rate increase, but the government has indicated it will not be supporting that bill. The province, meanwhile, is joining a new nationwide electricity partnership. The National Energy Corridor will strengthen electricity transmission connections between provinces. The plan features the adoption of an electrical strategy that connects Canada from east to west and north to south. The minister responsible for SaskPower says this will ensure everyone in Saskatchewan has affordable access to electricity and will also make it easier to sell power to other provinces.
The culmination of a lot of really diligent work that went in across the country, provinces and territories coming together for the very first time, really in a historic way, to build a national transmission infrastructure program across the country, with the Government of Canada being a significant part of that discussion.
And the partnership will also consult with Indigenous communities to ensure their voices are heard. Canada's nuclear regulator has given NextGen Energy a license to build a uranium mine in northern Saskatchewan. It is the second uranium mine the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission has approved for construction this year. NextGen plans to build its Rook 1 underground uranium mine about 150 kilometers north of La Loche. The Vancouver-based company signed benefit agreements with Indigenous communities in the area. Construction is set to start this summer and expected to finish in 4 years. NextGen will then have to apply to the Commission for a license to operate the mine. Just last month, the Commission also granted a license to Denison Mines Corporation to build its uranium mine, which is also going to be in the Athabasca Basin. Well, a little less foggy and a little warmer for those of us across the province. But if you were in Regina, we did get a fresh batch of snow overnight and some freezing rain as well. But overall, after that cleared, not too bad of a day to get outside, and looking like we will maybe see a bit of a warm up as well, and maybe, just maybe, a return to some sunshine in the coming days. Weather specialist Helena Mahalik has all the details in her forecast after the break. A Saskatchewan-based tech company has laid off 20 employees in our province and around 50 worldwide. Vendasta says it's because it's introducing an AI workforce, one that can do the work that needs to be done 24/7.
You know, we help small businesses, embrace technology and basically make it easy and accessible and affordable for them to use technology, and particularly in areas of helping them get customers and keep those customers, and book their appointments and bill them and do all the things they need to do, provide service to them. If you're a plumber, appointment, make it all happen, and help that small businesses actually utilize technology. That's really what we do.
Well, you're in a beautiful office in Saskatoon right now. How many employees do you have in Saskatoon?
So I think we're about 650 employees in Saskatoon. We probably have, I want to say we have 275 or so.
Okay, yeah. So, and how many are you laying off right now in Saskatchewan?
It's under 20 that we're changing. So we're still hiring in some areas, but yeah, we have removed 20 people in certain positions in areas where we're not investing in.
And that's okay. So about you said just less than 20 in Saskatchewan. What about around the world? Are you having any other layoffs?
Yeah, there's folks in other places too. So we have people in the U.S. and in India. So we've got a few people in those areas too. Yeah, and probably even was a little heavier in India, where we actually do a lot of our content production work, because that work is changing.
How many people are being laid off in India?
Well, it's I think it's just under 50 people. So yeah.
Okay, so what's the total, Brendan?
Well, it's you're talking about 75 plus people.
75, yeah. So why are these jobs shifting?
The world has changed so much. It's really not, we talk about AI a lot, but it's really technology. And it's really changed the way that, that people use it. And so now, we're in a position where we're helping these small businesses work, and small businesses have a new idea about how to, what they want to do. Some of the jobs that we were doing in the past was building websites, writing social content, making posts for them, driving traffic to their website. And that has changed dramatically. And in order for us to be able to provide that service at a quality scale, we also have to use AI.
And weather specialist Helena Mahalik joining us now for a look at the forecast. A bit of a slippery commute for some of us after that snow and freezing rain, Helena.
Yeah, Ethan, where you are in the south, we're still seeing winter-like conditions, but we just heard that technology is changing and so is the weather. Some warmer temperatures in store, but let's take a look at our daytime highs from Thursday across south and central Saskatchewan in the province. Still a fairly warm day despite the fact that we saw some winter-like conditions. In the southwest, just below freezing. The rest of the province hovering around -10. With the wind chill, it felt more like -15 across south and central, but still a warmer day than we've seen in quite a while. Thursday evening across the province, we're not seeing too much activity except for in the southeast. We are seeing some periods of light snow, little accumulation. Yorkton might see the most with 1 to 2 centimeters possible. And in the Swift Current area, we might see some freezing drizzle this evening. And then as we get into Friday, we're not going to see too much activity, just a 30% chance of flurries in the Churchill region. And then as we get into Friday night and overnight into Saturday morning, we're seeing a bigger system coming into the north, bringing upwards of 10 centimeters of snow for the far north, and a slight chance of some rain for the Churchill region. And the north just can't catch a break this weekend. We're going to continue to see some snowfall for the Churchill region, and in west central Saskatchewan, we might see some mixed activity. Saskatoon could be in for some light rain on Sunday. So we will see a few centimeters of accumulation in south and central Saskatchewan, most of which is going to be in the southeast. And it's really the north that is going to see the most of that accumulation. Friday afternoon, not much snow, but as we see that bigger system coming in, 10 centimeters of snow by Saturday night, and then another 10 centimeters possible in that pocket around La Loche there. So we will see a good amount of snow in the north. And in terms of our winds, we're just seeing a slight breeze all throughout the rest of the week. A little bit of wind in the south, but it's really Saturday evening that we're going to see a lot of wind activity, especially in south and central Saskatchewan, upwards of 60 kilometers an hour wind gusts. So it is going to be breezy, even though that is our warmest day of the week. It might feel a little bit cooler with that breeze. And as we look ahead to Friday, it is definitely going to be warming up across the province. South and central Saskatchewan hovering between -10 to -15, but with the wind chill, it is going to feel more like -8 as the afternoon goes on, but sadly still going to feel quite cool for the north. So Ethan, I am definitely looking forward to some warmer days in store for us soon.
Yeah, and those of us in the south won't complain about the snow based off of what they're going to get up north, I guess.
Yeah, you can't complain if it's going to be so much colder there, but looking forward to it.
That is true. Okay, thanks, Helena.
Thanks, Ethan.
Well, researchers used to think that polar bears were coming into contact with humans more frequently because they were starving and searching for food. But new research from the University of Saskatchewan suggests that's not the case.
So over time, we've collected over 580 bear visits. We can't always tell if it's the same bear or not on the cameras. And what we did, led by a doctoral student of mine, Danielle Rivette, was look at, okay, what are the drivers of the patterns that we're seeing here? Is it ice? Is it human activity? What's going on?
So yes, they are spending more time on land because there's less sea ice, and yes, there are signs that the population is in trouble in Western Hudson Bay. That the population's lower today than it was several decades ago. That sort of thing all seems to be true, but that doesn't seem to be driving new behavior of polar bears deliberately going and seeking out places that humans frequent because they're looking for human food.
This particular piece of research stands at a little bit of a not quite contradiction with what we know about when polar bears actually do attack people. When a conflict occurs, when an attack occurs, it's disproportionately skinny bears. So nutritional stress, poor body condition, that does play a role. It's just that it's not the role that we thought it played. So what we need to do now is figure out, okay, where does it play a role? How does it do so? What can we learn about that? And I think that will help us understand how to keep, or if not keep, how to be able to spot when a situation is likely to escalate from just an interaction to something worse.
If you talk to the people who live up in Churchill, this includes local knowledge that's not necessarily Indigenous knowledge, but a lot of it is Indigenous knowledge built over many generations. The advice you get about interactions with polar bears is your default assumption should not be that the polar bear is trying to eat you. That's a dangerous assumption to start with. Your default assumption is I should respect the bear and give it space. And if I do that, it's probably going to be perfectly happy with me being around and then backing away, giving it its space, respecting it.
The other one is that we showed, without intending to, that the data that we collected from these remote cameras actually did a pretty good job at measuring the body condition and the demographics, so number of cubs, those kinds of things, of the Western Hudson Bay polar bear population at large. Our numbers matched those generated by other researchers going out and capturing and handling the bears. So what we showed is that using remote cameras when the bears are on shore, we can actually census some really important variables.
After the break, she is 91, she still drives, and she is quickly becoming PEI's Crokinole Queen. We introduce you to Norma Morrissey and hear from those who say she shows up to just about every tournament on the island. That plus a final look at the forecast when we come back. Time to introduce you now to a 91-year-old PEI woman. She competes 3 times a week at the board game Crokinole. And if practice makes perfect, well, Norma Morrissey may soon have a new nickname, Crokinole Wizard.
When we were growing up, I had all kinds of games, our family did, but I never had crokinole. I didn't even know what the board looked like. For the longest time, I wasn't very good at it. I'm doing better in the centers. It's the centers that really count, they add up.
We had a tournament on down Eastern Kings in St. Peter's at the Circle Club. She came down and played with us down there, and then that evening we were playing in Warren Grove. She was there waiting to play. She didn't have enough playing all day, doubles and singles.
Same rules as this morning.
And is it a game that allows a lot of banter back and forth and chatter?
Oh yes, you should hear me. I'm the noisy one.
Oh, it's not.
I didn't know there could be trash talking in Crokinole, Helena. Well, is there going to be any storms or anything ahead in our forecast?
Well, Ethan, we can see some more outdoor activity weather coming up soon over the weekend. Let's take a look at the forecast for the city of Regina. We are going to see some sun coming out, and temperatures Friday still slightly cool, but into Saturday we're going to see things really warm up, a little bit breezy, but we're going to see temperatures even above 5 degrees. Finally, temperatures above freezing. We are going to see some mixed conditions into the rest of the week with some more snow and rain coming our way as well. In Saskatoon, again, the sun is coming out and we are going to see a warm day Saturday despite some wind and cloudy temperatures. Sunday, we might see a chance of rain and quite breezy as well. And into next week, still sunny, but we do see the return of below freezing temperatures and even some more snowfall. But Ethan, I'm just really excited for at least one day of really nice weather across the province.
Yeah, hoping that rain maybe stays away at least for a little while. Thank you so much, Helena.
Thanks, Ethan.
And that is our news for this Thursday. For more news anytime, you can head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. And you can always download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.